There are legitimate issues raised by this resolution as to whether or not you support or do not support the escalation that has been proposed by the President. But no one ought to hide behind the troops. No one ought to come to this floor and say that this Congress, 435 of us, will not support whatever soldier or sailor or Marine is deployed to Iraq. Whether it's today or tomorrow, they will have our support. And when we say in this resolution they are serving, it means that if they are serving, if the Commander-in-Chief has sent them there, we will support them. And very frankly, for my friend from New Mexico to come to this floor and make the representation that somehow we have limited that support to those who currently are on the ground is not an honest representation, in my opinion. There are those of us who disagree as to what supporting the troops means. My friend, the former chairman of the committee, just got up and said he hasn't gotten any calls lately, but we got a lot of calls in in 03, in 04, in 05. And today, Chairman Murtha of the Appropriations Committee is saying we don't have the armored Humvees for these new troops that are going to be deployed or in the process of being deployed. So when you come to the floor, my friends, debate the substance of this policy. But do not hide behind the troops. Do not assert that anybody on this floor does not have every intention and commitment to supporting, to whatever degree necessary, our young men and women, and as I have said, some not so young, who are deployed in harm's way at the point of the spear. Because no one in this Congress, and our troops ought to know that no one in this Congress will not support them when they are deployed at the point of the spear.
Will the gentleman yield?
I'd be glad to yield to my friend. I'd be glad to yield to my friend.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. The point that I made was
I was not referring to you, my friend. I want to make that clear. I yield.
Okay, well, I'm talking about the armor issue. The point that I made is the idea of coming to the floor and implying that somehow there was bad faith with this government for not having the new body armor that our troops presently have to the tune of 400,000 sets, that somehow that was a dereliction of duty, is also a disservice, not only to the former Congresses but also to the former administrations, because the last administration, in the year 2000, had 0 sets of body armor. Body armor is a new advent. It's a new system. We now have hundreds of new systems that we've injected into the warfighting theater. So the idea that we had a ragtag military moving across a berm into Iraq is also not accurate. And I would hope that the gentleman would admonish his colleagues who come to the floor to imply that our people went across that berm unequipped is also not accurate.
Reclaiming my time.
I thank the gentleman for yielding.
I thank the gentleman for his observation. I'm not sure the gentleman and I agree. I am not an expert in this area. I do not serve on the subcommittee or the committee. But the information that I have is that the troops that we sent in 03 and 04 on the ground did not have sufficient quantities of body armor for each one of them. Now, that may be inaccurate, and if the gentleman thinks that assertion is inaccurate, I'd be glad to yield.
Well, my point is to the gentleman.
Is that inaccurate?
That is inaccurate if you refer to the historic amount of body armor that our troops have had.
No, sir. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman.
Then I would say yes, that is inaccurate. The way the gentleman stated it, if he's not going to qualify it, that is inaccurate.
No, I don't want to qualify
because we've never had body armor
reclaiming my time
until this war.
Is the gentleman asserting that all of the troops who were in Humvees in 2003 and 2004 had armored Humvees, or that they had all of the troops deployed in harm's way, and by the way, being in Iraq is in harm's way wherever they may be, had the sufficient body armor. Is that what the gentleman's asserting?
The gentleman and I are good enough friends that the gentleman will allow me to make a one-sentence answer, and the answer is not since 1776 until just a few years ago have American troops in Vietnam, in Korea, in World War II, in any war, had what is known as ballistic body armor. It is a brand new thing, and we've got yet new systems that we're going to be putting into the field shortly. So they don't have the newest, and they didn't have the newest. They now have 400,000 sets. But to imply that that lack of having them from 1776 to 2000 made them into some type of an unequipped force is also not fully true.
I thank the gentleman for his observation, but of course my assertion was not 1776 to 2000. It was 2003 and 2004. But the point that I will make, and if I can conclude, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time. The point that I wanted to make, though, is irrespective of that assertion one way or the other, I believe every one of our colleagues, whatever their view on this resolution might be, all 435 have every intention and will, in fact, do whatever they need to protect and promote the safety of our men and women in harm's way. And the assertion, I tell my friend, that was made by the gentlelady from New Mexico, that the verbiage of this resolution says because serving, it does not mean those who will serve. Obviously, as soon as they are sent into theater, they are serving in Iraq. And they are covered by this resolution. There ought to be no confusion on that issue by anybody on the floor or anybody who might be listening to this debate.
Would the gentleman yield one last